Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here, Bob Stewart over there. Bob, how are you doing today?
Well, Chad, I thought I was going to be okay because I reset my internet earlier. I hope I stay here with you. Well, not because you're here. I can care less. We have a guest, and I want to hear all the things that she has to say. So I hope that my internet holds up. It already kicked me off a really important meeting earlier today. So
that's awesome. I believe it's because in a recent episode, Bob, you discussed how well your microphone and system was finally working when our guest had an issue with theirs. And I think your computer heard you and said, oh, yeah, watch this.
Yeah, hold my beer. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Folks, there is a chance Bob Stewart will not be here at the end of the episode. Don't worry. I have company.
Yeah.
That is
if I
much
just
more
stopped talking at some
anyway.
point, just know that's what happened. I didn't get bored by Kristen. That was nothing to do with it.
Bored, but with me though, it might have been enough.
Well, always bored with you.
Right.
Always bored with you.
Okay.
Correct.
Just checking. All right, folks, we're going to jump right into it today because Bob and I say many times that we bring guests on or we do the topics that we do for us. And Bob, you're going to hear from an LMFT today. And I think that's something you and I definitely will both benefit from an LFMT conversation. Got a lot more than that to this lady. I saw
somewhere in here she's a Gottman method certified or whatever. Like my wife and I have read that book. It's one of our favorites. Anyway, yeah.
We will absolutely learn so much more as we bring her into the conversation today. We want to welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast, Kristen Mosier. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You have the distinction of being the first. And Bob, how many episodes do you think we've done?
Wow. I mean, we've done 500 episodes, 550.
And how many of those do you think have been interviews?
150 interviews, maybe. I don't know. Something like that.
We have never had a guest join Zencastr, which is the product we use behind the scenes, via their phone.
Yeah.
I think at one point
Wow.
you couldn't do it. I think we had people that couldn't join because they couldn't get on their phone. They attempted to. You are the first successful person to join us via.
This is very like 2026 millennial.
Well, yes, I'm on the cutting edge of technology here. Wow.
So you got a flip phone, is what you're saying? Is that
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
I'm thinking
Kristen,
about
welcome. Welcome to the podcast. We don't read bios, even though there's this beautiful, lovely one that was sent to me from your PR people. Please introduce yourself however you see fit to our audience. Let them know who Kristen is.
Sure. So my name's Kristen Mosier, and if you're confused about what LMFT is, it's Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist. And I am a therapist who works with couples and individuals in New York City and in the suburbs. And I also recently wrote a book called Restless: How to Stop Living an If Only Life. So I sort of explore this idea of grass is always greener, the if only trap, and that's sort of where my research has been. And I also have 3 kids, and I'm married, and restless myself sometimes. And I also so many careers. I also teach and write and work as a therapist.
So before Bob just starts asking questions to fix his marriage and his family and all of that stuff, let's look at what do you mean when you say restless? Talk about just what the title is and what that message is we're going to be hitting today.
I think a lot of people experience restlessness to one degree or another, which is like this idea that the grass is always greener somewhere else. So wondering, like, you sort of achieve something or you have something in your life and you question, like, well, could it be better, or should I have done a different thing? Or if only I got that next, promotion, then I would be happy. Or, this idea that satisfaction is always sort of elusive on the other side of something, right? So we have this perpetual forward motion.
Where does that, why? Like in doing your research, did you come to any common themes around? Because I think,
and that's why we hope he doesn't drop off the internet. He asks brilliant questions like, why?
I think a lot of us can relate to that, right? And maybe it's in your marriage, or maybe it's in your job, or but like, why do so many of us have this common experience? Where does it come from?
Yeah, I think it comes from a lot of different, there's a lot of different reasons. So on one hand, there is a personality type that makes us more susceptible. So I think if you're growth oriented, if you always love learning new things and trying new things, there's sort of this temptation to continually grow and change, sometimes at the sake of being in the present moment, right? And then there's also the cultural aspects, right? We're told that it's never enough, that we are always optimizing. And we look to social media and we see all these examples of people who have something seemingly more attractive or more successful or whatever it is, right? So we're always sort of striving to get to this place. But where is that place? The benchmark kind of keeps moving.
We
Okay.
definitely have a lot of those people in our
You do.
audience, right? We
Yeah.
have an entrepreneurial audience where a lot of our people are in sales of some form. So there's always that I could do it bigger, I could do it better, I could have my
Yeah.
organization could be bigger, I could have done it a different way. Folks, you might want to check out Kristen's book. It's Restless: How to Stop Living an If Only Life, which you'll find on Amazon. Easiest place to always get a book in today's day and age. If we just randomly flip through it and stopped somewhere in the book, what's the part of the book we should stop at, tease everybody, talk a little bit, go in depth a little bit about on this restless journey that we
Right.
could attack right here, right now?
I mean, I think the beauty of the way it's broken down is really that there's a section for different parts of our lives. Like you were saying, Bob, like there's some people that struggle with this in love. There's a chapter on love. There's some people that struggle with this at work. There's a chapter for work and parenting and friendship. And there's so we can kind of look, you could skip to that part and kind of see, oh, right, I do feel very restless at work. I'm always jumping from opportunity to opportunity, and that might offer some help there too. And then as you go deeper, we sort of find how to be more in the present moment and how to identify what's really important to us so that we can make values aligned decisions instead of just that continual perpetual forward motion and inertia just carrying us from
I
one
mean,
thing to the next.
Kristen, is that the root? Like in your research, what's the root of restlessness then? Is it the like you just I think said like misalignment of my values with like what I'm going out every day
Okay.
and doing? Like, is that the root of restlessness, or where does it come from?
That Bob, you really are perceptive because you did. That is very true. That a lot of it has to do with when we're living out of alignment with what we value, right? So we constantly, like society tells us to keep moving forward, and we sort of have these milestones or benchmarks that are laid out for us by these external expectations that are
Well, like
ingrained since
these are things like
childhood.
graduate from high school, get a
Right.
job,
Get a
get
job.
married, have kids, like
Yes.
these kind of okay.
Exactly, but we don't pause sometimes to really think about, "Oh, is this something I really want?" So I just kind of went along and now here I am and inertia has carried me and now I'm like, "Oh, but I don't really value, that you're in a job that you're doing sales maybe and you're like, "But I don't really value that. I really want to help people. That's one of my big values." Like, so what am I doing? I'm sort of out of alignment with that. And now I feel really restless at work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. You mentioned something in there. There was a quote that I heard years ago from someone who used to speak to a lot of the sports teams and all that stuff. So I know Nick Saban is attributed to the quote, even though that's not where it came from. And it was "Be where your feet are," which has always stuck with me as to being present, as you said. We are all in today's world. I mean, heck, we're on a interview right now, and I've gotten 4 text messages, 3 emails have popped up. I'm sure social media stuff is doing things. Bob's possibly got a kid tugging at him over there that we just can't see on the camera. We both have our spouses, our other obligations. How do we go about being more present? Teach our people a few steps that if they get nothing else from this podcast, they will be more present with their families, with their clients, heck, with themselves by learning a few lessons about being present.
Sure. I give you one thing that I love is like singular focus, which is like the idea that, like you said, we're thinking about a million things at one time or we're multitasking all the time. And research shows us that multitasking doesn't make us more productive, actually. It makes us
Watch out! You're
less.
hitting one of Chad's. You're like Chad's getting a
Uh-oh.
he's blushing. He loves this.
I'm
he loves
excited
this
to hear that. There was no prompting, folks. I did not prompt
I
this.
did not. Did not.
Chad thinks you just need to
Multitasking
work
is
on-
just a way to screw up more than one thing at a time. There you
That's
go.
right. That's right. Oh, perfect. Yeah. And so when we do, focus on something in more of a singular way. So, for instance, like I have 3 kids. If I spend time with one of them alone, I'm much more present with them than if I'm trying to spend time with all 3 of them at the same time. And yeah, we can't always do it, and we do have to multitask sometimes. But I think when we can, sort of leaning on that singular focus as a way to be more present in what we're doing, right? And so if we're with our kids, maybe putting work to the side, but if we're doing work, kind of carving out that time so that we do have where the ability to focus and to be present with it. So I think that's definitely one way to sort of show up in the present moment.
What are
Uh,
the signs of restlessness? Like it is like I asked this because my wife and I joke about like I'm 48. Am I 48? I'll be 49 this year. Every time we drive by some middle-aged or older guy in a Corvette, my wife's like, oh, there it is, right? You're like just around the corner from your midlife crisis. Like there's you in 5 years. And I'm like, no, I would never buy a Corvette, first of all. But
right.
like what are
Bob,
the
I
signs?
did the convertible Mustang and I didn't even realize it was happening. All of a sudden, that's what I was driving.
We point at you when we drive by you on the street, Chad, just so you know. And she
That's
jokes
right.
that there's me in 5 years. Like what are the signs of restlessness? Like how do I know if it's me, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some in the signs, sort of this thinking, right? This like, oh, could it be better if I did that, or should I do that? Like trouble with decision making, I think, can be one of them because you're constantly looking for the best possible outcome versus the good enough one. So there's this difficulty kind of deciding which direction to go in and then questioning those decisions at times. I think that comes up a lot. I also think just a feeling of like dissatisfaction sometimes, right? Like, so you can never really feel contentment, right? This elusive satisfaction that you're kind of striving to always reach something, but you never actually get there.
It's there's like a balance though, right? Because if I just was, I mean, Chad, at one point I was 25 years old. I lived in an apartment and I had no girlfriend. And if I was like, okay, well, this is it, feeling pretty good about myself, right? I
Right.
probably don't go on and get married and have kids and own multiple homes. And so there's something that's like,
Yes.
that we all need to drive us to
Yes.
go, perform, to show up, to become a better version of ourselves, to get the most out of life. But on the other side, I don't want to be restless and always looking for that. So like,
Yeah, I think
How
that's
do we
you're
know
right.
when we've made it,
balance.
right? I
Yeah,
mean,
there's
whatever
balance.
that
Right.
means.
Right. And that's the problem. There is no making it, right? So you just are in. So basically, I
Wait a
actually
minute,
think.
what? Hold on. You're telling me like all the stuff's been a lie? Like my whole
Never
life,
make
they were like,
All
yeah,
lie.
this is going to
It's
prepare you for the
all
next
lie.
thing, and it'll prepare you for the
That's
next
right.
thing.
There
Oh
is
my
no finish
goodness.
line. Yeah. So I do think that we are, the more restless you are, actually, the more growth oriented you are, which is a good thing, right? Growth oriented, you're learning, you're becoming a better person, you're building on your knowledge and your goals. And that's great. I think the problem comes into the picture when you just are never satisfied, right? When it's constantly like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So if we could look at sort of the neuroscience behind this, which is that our brain releases dopamine in the pursuit of things, right? And so for the last, previously we thought dopamine came when you got the success, but that's actually been proven wrong. It's not necessarily in the getting, it's in the what you're going when you're going after it. So the anticipation, right? And so I think that there is this dopamine release that comes in the chase, right? And so we get caught up in that cycle and we continually seek that sort of, that high of like going for the next best thing. But if we don't pause we can never actually get to that place because otherwise like I said, the benchmark keeps moving. So I think you have to sort of know that that's happening. And then when you get there, sort of take stock of where you are. And that goes back to the values of like, okay, here I am. Do I want to just keep going or do I want to assess, oh, like, okay, I just got this next milestone and I feel good about that. Like, how was that process for me? Is it in line with where I want to be going? And sort of pause. I think that is the difference, right?
Chad, it makes me think, like, when you get to Italy, is that it? Right? Because Spain. You've got this thing that's like driving you to take activity, and then you get there, and will that be it for Chad? Like, I'm sad to think of the day where you might be like, I don't need any more. Like, I'm done, dude. I'm not restless anymore.
That was me like 10
I think
years ago.
there is some power in restlessness as long as it's not like, when does it become bad?
Yeah,
Kristen?
I don't think the goal is not to get rid of restlessness, right? The goal is to sort of understand if it's driving you and sort of how to live beside it and say like, okay, I feel restless. Like if you were in a relationship, in a marriage, and you were constantly feeling restless and maybe something better, something different, you sort of lose the focus on the relationship and are now looking at like, oh, is there something better out there? So instead, it's like living with that restlessness, but then recentering it to where you want to actually put your energy. So maybe the energy is like, maybe I'm feeling restless in my marriage because we haven't done new things together or we don't feel connected in some way. So you put the energy into that versus this constant questioning. Does that make
Right.
sense?
It doesn't mean I got to go find a new partner, folks. It means maybe my partner and I need to grow in a direction or take on something or have some challenge when that restless feeling shows up in that situation. One of the words I heard you mention a few times was values, because we have to be value aligned, because that will really help us. I think, and you can take this whichever way you want. One, I don't think people really truly sit down and know what their values are. So maybe it's a discussion on how do we figure out what our values are, other than we'll look around, you know what your values are because of what you're valuing. Is it monetary stuff? Is it this? Is it that? That shouldn't be how it is, because we're just dealing with the life. We should know our values so then we can filter our questions and our restless situations. And then, Kristen, how many people have values at business? Because it's such a buzzword in the business world. And then my values don't take into account that, well, I value my partner. So I might say no to one more client in my business opportunity because it's going to take that time away that I want to commit there in my relationship. Talk to us about values and how they cross over from business to personal and how we establish them, and that whole conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a great question because we hear this word values a lot and then we're sort of like, what are values, right? And like, what are my values? And I really like to think of it more as a or more as something we're working towards versus some like abstract concept, right? So it's the idea of like, so if I value being patience, then I'm practicing patience, right? And if I value helping people, then I'm practicing helping people, right? So thinking about it in an action form versus just like a word. I value family, right? But what does that actually look like to you? I value connection. So I'm connecting with my family or I'm spending time with them. And like you said, I think we can get sort of lost in what it is that we value and where it falls in this sort of where it falls in this, sort of what's priority, right? So we might say like, okay, I value success, but I value my relationships more and I and working towards connecting with people, right? And sort of getting a sense of like, I could say, write it down and then label your top three values. And those are the things that you're going to want to focus on. There's a lot of values exercises online that you can do. But I also like, I don't know if you know the work of Arthur Brooks, like he talks about in the New York Times, he wrote this article of like the eulogy virtues versus success virtues, which is like resume virtues, which is like, what do you want to be said at your eulogy versus like your resume, what's on your resume, right? And sort of thinking about it in that way can be helpful too.
Let's shift a little bit. We've been talking about restless, and there's so much more, and we might go back to it in the values, and someone's yelling from their car right now, wait, go back, right? Or so. No, you're I want to get it right. LMFT, right?
That's right.
Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist. Okay, not everybody who listens is married. Not everybody who listens has kids. Yet there's still values and lessons that come whether my daughter has grown, Bob still got little ones, whether I'm single, whether I'm married in my situation, whatever that is. What are some of the common things that come up in that, maybe with the restless conversation, or maybe we're shifting gears completely and making a wild right hand turn here? What are some of the things that come up in that area, Kristen, that our audience can learn from?
So you mean like some of the topics or difficulties that come up in families and couples?
That we need to take as people who are probably restless if you see it crossing
Mm,
over,
yeah.
right? So we've got that restless to us. And then it's coming home, right? We're impacting our kids or we're impacting our
Yes.
partner or whatever that is. Talk a little bit about that
Yeah.
for me.
Well, I think that's a great topic because we talk about this relational restlessness, is what I call it. So, in relationship with other people. And sometimes it's easy to direct our restlessness outward versus sort of intuiting what it means for us because we might think, oh, my partner is boring versus really understanding like, no, I need more stimulation or I need more adventure. It's not that your partner is boring, right? But we might project it outwards as like a judgment on them or on the relationship, right? And so they're holding us back in some way. We would be doing all these fun things or we would be having all these adventures if it wasn't for this person. But really, it's the wrong question. The question is really what is restlessness telling me about my own needs and my own, how in touch I am with my values and my who I feel like I am at the core. And what am I missing there? Not necessarily what is this other person not giving me? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. What do we do about it?
Right. And so the thing is to sort of do that self-evaluation versus looking at your partner and saying like what don't you have? It's like what is it that I want? And then can I bring that to my partner once I figure that out? Like you could say so one of your values might be traveling because you really enjoy new experiences and growing and your partner doesn't like to travel, right? And so that you feel like they're holding you back. But instead, you sort of bring this to them like, this is a really important part of how I see myself. And I don't need you to just sort of jump on a plane with me and go everywhere, but like, how can we in our relationship bring more of this, bring more of this in? And so it could look different, right? It could look more like, um, taking more day trips or doing more new things together and sort of bringing some of that in so having that conversation so being aware of like what it is. I love the question, how do you want to feel versus what do you want to achieve? Because it's sometimes it's like, I want to feel like I joke when I moved from the city to the suburbs, I was like, oh, I miss it. I want to go back. I longed for it. But it wasn't that I wanted to move back. It's that I missed the feeling of seeing new things and being stimulated and kind of having this at my fingertips. Right. And so when we can identify what that feeling is that we desire, we can then bring that to our relationship and say, I have a craving for more of this feeling versus like you're doing something wrong, right?
All right. I think we have Bob back.
We do.
Are you here, Bob? You are here. Okay. I want you to know, Bob, while you were gone,
We
thanks
called
to
your therapist.
yeah, thanks to Kristen's relationship with all therapists in the country because they're all connected. She did a quick search. We have found your therapist. She will be joining me
Oh
next week
no.
for an episode. No, we're just welcome back though,
Um,
Bob Stewart.
Wait, was it before we jumped on here that we were having the discussion about like if I fall off, or was that
Yes,
at the beginning
that's why
of
we're
this call?
surprised you
Okay.
even came back.
Gosh, I'm having a day, Chad. I'm
All right,
having
so
one of these computer days. So I'm
Kristen,
back. I missed that. I wanted to have heard what that was. This might be, by the way, the first time I ever go back and actually listen to our podcast. Like I don't listen to it. Like I was there. What do I need to go back and listen for? This might be the first time I go back and listen because I feel like what I came in on the end of is something I actually wanted to hear.
Yes, and you can ask whatever you need. Chris can always say, "Yeah, you got to go back and listen to the recording." We talked about that to take care of that for you. You know, it was interesting, Kristen. Bob comes. Bob's a very relaxed, happy-go-lucky kind of guy 90% of the time, right? We have our moments where Bob, goes off the rails. So he'll get frustrated at his computer, right now. This is what he needs. It's done it to him
You
a few
guys,
times
Kristen
today.
saw some of the looks on my face,
Right.
I think, before I realized you guys could see me again.
Yeah, possible. So talk to us as the author of Restless. Talk to us as a licensed marriage and family therapist. We all have moments like Bob just had. Life kicks us in the teeth. Life frustrates us, takes us out of what we need to be doing. What would you recommend to help us? We've had people talk about, okay, here's the breathing technique. We've had people talk about this. What's Kristen's lesson when the world kicks us before we become the Hulk to be able to control and hold ourselves as Bruce Banner?
Well, I think you said the word control, which I think is the problem, right? We try and control it and make it go away and push it away. And I really think that acceptance is where it's at, right? We're gonna feel the range of emotions. They're always going to arrive without fail. We can never escape that sort of landscape of the ups and downs, right? And so sort of noticing like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, and still choosing to show up, right? And so I think our behavior is different than our feeling, right? We can choose to say, okay, I'm feeling this way. It's going to come. I'm noticing that. But do I need to act on this right now in a way that feels, how is that going to help me? Sort of taking that pause in the moment. Does it,
Some of the patterns of the way we react to things are deeply ingrained in us.
Oh, sure.
Right. Like these are childhood patterns that I've been repeating for 45 years or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we all have that little kid in us, right? That like has a tantrum. We're adults, but that kid is still there, right? And so we just have more self-control over time and self-regulation. And I think
some of us
have more self-control.
It's fascinating to raise kids. Like I'm raising children right now, right? I have an 8 and a 10-year-old, and like almost every single thing about them that annoys me is like personality traits in me that I put in them, right? Or my wife put in them, where I'm like, man, you are annoying. Wait a minute. That's actually me. Holy cow, I need to fix that thing.
Yeah. Right. And I think your point, there's two different approaches, right? There's what happens in the moment, but then there's also what happens before the moment. So if we're practicing sort of this more self-care where we get space to ourselves and we get quiet and we get, time for ourselves, then we can come into the situation and be, especially with parenting, right? Like you're going to be calmer if you come in where you've had time for yourself and you've had time to do the things that you care about, right? Exercise.
By the way, but by the way, time to yourself is not laying on your couch scrolling on your phone. Like that is doing right. That's not anything that I really value.
Right.
Yeah, it's not helping me like manage my own thoughts or get deeper into my own thoughts, right? These are things you're talking about, like journaling or going out and enjoying a hobby that I like to do, right? Like actually things for myself, not just time to myself to rot my brain.
Yeah, and I don't think it has to be big. I think we overthink that. Like, I think it could be a long shower or a walk around the block or whatever it is. Just you could hear yourself think for a moment.
If you have an 8-year-old that's obsessed with basketball, it's not a long shower because he'll be in there knocking on my shower door like, hey, when are we going to shoot baskets?
That's right.
Your bingo card, Chad. Basketball. Bob brought it up.
Been bingo card. Thank you for bringing it up, Bob. Folks, we are talking with Kristen Mosier, who is the author of
Mosier. Why are you trying to Italy that name? Or like you're really on that one,
practicing all my European languages. Author of Restless, How to Stop Living an If Only Life. You can pick it up at Amazon or at her website, which is Kristen Mosier, LMFT.com. Right? I got the folks. Right. There's all these abbreviations out there. I was telling a story earlier that can get us in trouble. Be sure you know what the letters stand for. It helps understand a conversation before people send strange letters to you. That was Bob's first question before we recorded. What the heck's an LMFT? And now we know, and it has been very, very, very helpful. As I was looking through some of the stuff that was sent over about you, there's a lot to you that we find out. And I have you working with, obviously, couples, ADHD people. I have you in health, in other things along the line. How did you overcome or focus and narrow your restlessness Because it sounds like you did a lot of things and were in many until you've kind of narrowed that down. Take us a little bit through your journey on the topic itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good example of restlessness at work. I've constantly sort of reinvented myself, right? So I started as a journalist out of school and I worked in editorial for about 10 years, but I it kind of went back to that values conversation. I always valued working with people and helping people. I mean, all through my 20s, I still volunteered in the city. I did a lot of that even through my childhood, right? And sort of I wasn't able to do that once I was working in magazines and writing. I wasn't really able to bring that to my job as much as I wanted. And so this nagging feeling of restlessness was there. And I got kind of clear on what I wanted for that next part of my life and what my values are and how that was represented. And then I sort of returned to school to become a therapist. But along the way, I am a growth oriented person. I became a childbirth educator and a health coach and all the different things that were interesting to me, I pursued, right? And sometimes that would spread my attention too thin. And so eventually I realized like I don't have to do everything, right? I might have an interest in something, but it doesn't mean I have to pursue it or make it into a career, really, right? And so now I can like pause and say, oh yeah, I love decorating my home, but doesn't mean I have to have an Instagram page with all of those photos on it, right? It's like, oh, okay,
Wait,
I
what?
could.
Can you
I
tell
thought
my
you
wife
had
that?
to. I thought if you like decorating your house, you had that. I thought
You
that was
have
in the
to.
rule book.
You
No,
have
Don't, isn't
to.
it still you have to have a Pinterest? Aren't those the only people still on Pinterest too?
Exactly, right. And you feel that pressure though that you have this hobby you should make into something, but you don't always have to
Oh, that's so
optimize it,
prevalent
right?
right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
so prevalent.
Well,
Like
everyone's
nobody
telling us to
today.
have a second gig, right? Or that second.
Yeah,
So
side hustle.
hobbies must be turned into a side hustle because we must be making more money and we must be doing
Exactly.
something about it.
Well,
And you're telling us we don't
I'm
have
not allowed to like start something that I'm going to do every day for the next 30 days without making an Instagram page about it and being like,
Exactly.
okay, guys, it's day one on my journey to,
Go where?
getting rid
Exactly.
of Cheetos as my main
Exactly.
snack or whatever. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so, I mean, I'm still going to be, I just offered to teach a class at the college nearby, right? So I'm still growth oriented and doing those things, but I'm only choosing things to say yes to that are really aligned with where I want to go and what's important to me right now. Right. So,
not
and,
just because you have this feeling of I
yeah,
need more, I want something different. Well, let me
right.
try this, let me try
Or
that. You're
even
like lining
because
things.
Yeah, or even because I'm good at it, or people tell me I'm good at it, right? So someone might say, "Oh, you should do this. You're so good at it. You must do this." But like, you don't have to do it.
It's a
Yeah.
powerful lesson. All right. I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock as we come near the end of the episode. We do this to many of our guests. I don't care if you say something you've already said and you're like, this is weighing on me. I really want to make sure you all got this. I don't care if we didn't ask you something that you're sitting there going, I don't know the reason yet. I need to share this. Somebody needed to hear this message that's in my world. Whatever it is, we're going to have you do it in 1 minute, though, as we come near the end of this episode. Take it away. Go.
Okay, so a reminder, I guess, is that we don't constantly have to be optimizing our lives, right? When we do that, we are saying it is not good enough. We are not good enough with what we have. And so we focus this energy outwards on optimizing, and or trying to be like somebody else out there, right? And that is never going to give us success. So if we look at ourselves and then we look at someone else and we're like, I want to be like them, that's never going to happen. So instead, really looking inwards and saying, what are the things important to me? What is it that I value in my life? Where do I want to be? And how do I want to feel? That question of how do you want to feel is so important, right? And so instead of chasing, like looking at that feeling, like, and then making small moves in that direction, it's usually editing versus like deleting, right? It's editing a pretty satisfying life to make it more satisfying versus like totally getting rid of something or a relationship or a job or whatnot too.
Or I think maybe the flip side of that is, or feeling this constant desire to need to add things. Like
Yep.
it might just be tweaking on and improving the things that I have.
Exactly. That's right.
We
I
hope.
love this discussion.
Good. You can go back and
Me
listen
too.
to it
I'm
anytime you
going to have
want,
to.
Bob.
I'm going to have to.
Now he's going to
'Cause
hear
I
all the
missed
things
about
I said
8
about him.
minutes of it.
All right, folks, here's how we hope you feel. We hope at the end of every Win May Give podcast episode, you feel like you actually were just hanging around with Bob, Chad, and whatever guest, or if it was just us, and had a good time, and at the same time, learned something to help you move forward. That's what we're doing it for. There is someone who just popped into your head that needed to hear part of Kristen's message. So who are you sharing today's episode with? Make sure you do it. Don't forget, Restless, How to Stop Living an If Only Life. Check it out on Amazon. Get even more than what we shared on the call today. And until our next episode, as always, do good.